I got to get a little deeper, think a little harder.
Yeah, easy layup.
All right. Well, we are live here at the Burbank Card Show, day 4. Yes, day 4.
Day 4.
Right?
Yeah.
4.
Live.
Yeah.
And we are on the stage
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
with the man that needs no introduction, Mr. Jeremy from Heritage. We have Art over here from Goldin. Yeah, who?
Yeah, thank you for having us, man. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
man, for sure. I'm Matt from Hobbzi. This is Dakota from Hobbzi. And it's been a lot of fun hanging out with you guys on the live stream this week. And all of the people out here in the audience. Let's say hi to all of our audience members. You guys can't see it, but there are so many people in these seats right now.
Very
It
enthusiastic
is absolutely packed. So we don't have a camera on the audience, but if you could see it, I'm telling you what, man, they are.
Trust me, bro.
We got
They're
people
there.
sitting down here in front, like, waiting for things to start. But no, we appreciate you guys joining us on the live stream. We're looking forward to doing this at more shows. And so, yeah, it's been pretty fun. What's the show been like for you guys so far?
It's been good. We've
I thought you were just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's been good.
Well, it's been a long week, so I got some slow pauses in my conversation there. We brought in some really interesting stuff. We got a Thai cob bat that looks amazing. We've been bringing in everything, not just sports cards. So we've been comics, cards, Type 1 photos, so a lot of different stuff. Some really cool stuff over there.
You're more focused on pop culture now, right?
Yeah, I'm
personally.
Well, personally, what I'm really into is non-sports cards. But in what I'm doing at Heritage, the category-wise, we're kind of touching the entertainment, the music memorabilia, the non-sports cards, the TCG, your Magic and your Pokemon and your Yu-Gi-Oh, that stuff, sneakers, all those different things like that, action figures and toys.
Cool.
That's kind of where my umbrella. We have 52 categories, so there's a lot of other things going on.
One for every day of the week.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, different one.
Yeah, it's been a good show. It's been kind of interesting, the upstairs downstairs dynamic.
Yes, it has.
I won't complain. I know EJ and Rob have already heard enough of that from everybody, so they're smart guys. They'll get it figured out. I'm sure for next time.
Well, here's the thing. I understood it from an experience standpoint of someone coming here for the first time, going to a card show, the corporate booths being together. In terms of that, when I put myself in their shoes, it makes absolute sense. Obviously,
100%.
our prerogative is to get as much consignment, as much action as possible.
Yeah.
So it's not completely ideal for that, but I looked at it this way. I'm like, okay, so we maybe don't have the traffic down here, but the experience is going to be really good. So what I started doing, I went upstairs and I started mingling and negotiating and telling people we're down here, and we're having a heck of a show. I think the Burbank show is probably the top show in the country aside from the National. And I got to meet some really interesting people. We actually have a really cool story about a gentleman from Canada. In his 80s, his mom kept all his cards in a binder with tape on them. He had a 52 mantle in there. And obviously has tape and whatnot, but he was very emotionally attached to this card because his mom took care of it when he was 7, things like that. So he was just such a sweet man. It was such a pleasure talking to him, getting to know him, hearing his story. I mean, I didn't want to stop talking to the guy. Typically, sometimes, like, okay, I want this conversation to end, but with this guy, I felt like I was talking to a friend, man. So it was cool being a part of that experience with him. He got it graded at PSA. I got 1.5, so it's a $30,000 to $40,000 card. We have it on display, but just getting to meet new people at these shows, hearing those stories, having that connection to them. He got a little emotional when it got graded. He took a picture. He was so grateful. He's a big fan of the show, by the way. We do have a Netflix show. Season 2 did get renewed. We started filming this week.
You have a what? Golden has a what? A Netflix show?
A little Netflix
when?
show.
When did this
Shameless
happen?
plug, but yeah, he was a really big fan of the show, and he got offered $30K cash here. Someone offered him $30K cash, and he's like, you know what? I thought about it, but I love your guys' show. I love being a part of it. So that was just really cool that he just wanted to be a part of the brand, and he just feels like, man, I got my card on that show I watched. He flew down from Canada, and he texted me when he got there, and man, it was just a really cool experience. Top 5 experiences in the hobby was meeting that guy. So
that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, that's cool.
We actually just finished interviewing. Speaking of interesting stories, we interviewed that guy. I think his handle on IG is like CRT something. He's got the full sleeve of vintage tattoos. Have you seen this guy?
No, I haven't.
Rolling around. This is
so he's got cards.
Yes.
Literally like
wow.
vintage,
the top vintage
like
cards.
polar bear, Honest.
Wagner.
Yeah. He's got everything. The T206. I mean, you name it. I mean,
Yeah.
from
Mickey's
his
on there.
shoulder all the way down to his
Gary, I'm
wrist,
assuming.
all
I
the
Did you
way
see it at the
around.
National? Did you see that?
I didn't see
Yeah.
it, but I already imagine what cards are on his.
Check out
his sleeve.
Hobbzi.com. We got the article on there. It's a really cool piece. We're actually, actually, I don't think it's live yet. I think it goes live this week. So, but it's that's going to be a cool piece. We interviewed him, got the details behind it, the story behind each card, why it was there. That
so
that
cool.
was cool. I mean, the amount of effort and thought that had to be put into that.
Just one arm.
It's just one arm
Is
right
he going
now.
to go to the other arm?
I don't know. I have
only
to
cool
talk to
people-
Michael.
He could put 90s junk.
I was gonna
wax over
say
there.
Yeah.
that, or just do Marvel
He's
cards
just-
on the other side.
Oh,
Yeah.
the other side.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, this is the important side. This is the junk era. Let's talk about that for a
The
second.
history of collecting in his body.
There you go.
Yeah, he's gonna go. The leg's gonna be like like some sort of odd sport like
Oh, you know,
F1 or
he'll have
something.
to put a Lotus on there and an Illustrator too. I mean,
Yeah.
he's got to get the whole array.
Everything.
Yeah.
Well, if I put a Charizard in there, why not?
So let's talk a little bit about, and the reason I brought Dakota up, and Jeremy
Uh-oh.
and Art can do this too.
Here we go.
I'm not gonna ask anything controversial. Don't worry. I do like to do that, but on this one I won't do that.
Yeah, your PR team is
So
already
let's
on
talk about Goldin and Heritage, and let's talk. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
no comment.
no comment.
No, but the reason I brought you and Dakota up mainly, and I'd love to hear Art's opinion on this as well, is just shows in general. Okay, over at Hobbzi, we've been talking about this a lot. Like, how do we take the activations at shows and the entertainment at shows, and what people are doing at the shows, and elevate that enough to bring an element of entertainment and activity and things like that to keep people engaged to the show. Dakota brought up a good point when we first started talking about this, and if you don't know, on the live stream, Dakota runs the Las Vegas Card Show, which is probably one of the more interactive, from an activation standpoint, shows in the
you
industry,
definitely had a
right?
lot of activations. That was very cool.
And is kind of known for that, and we'll have some exciting news about that coming up later. We won't, just a little plug there for that.
2024.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
So, but when we were talking about this originally, one thing we noticed at these shows is we wanted to do a time lapse at one of the booths of like setting a camera up and just watching everybody's head down, just kind of rolling down.
Oh,
Because it's
wow.
literally,
That'd be
everybody's
cool.
kind of just head down, stop, head down, stop. Dakota made a joke and was like, you could be standing right next to somebody you
I did it
have known
yesterday.
and haven't seen in
I
forever.
did it
yeah.
myself. Said hi to two people and didn't realize the other guy in the middle I knew, and so I stopped, turned around, and looked back. I was like, "Oh crap, I know
Yeah,
you
'cause
too."
you're just staring at cars walking down
Yeah.
each row. So
You just don't look up. It's people. It's this what they come here to do. They just walk around their heads down and just look for their card. And what I think he's trying to say is, how do we get people to do that, but also pick their head up and see what's in the room and engage with what's in the room.
engage and
Get them to stay in the room a little bit longer and build
which
that
would-
memory with
yeah,
it.
that would be the goal. Getting people to stay in the room, enjoy themselves without having, because you get burnt out a little bit. I mean, even as an avid collector that enjoys everything I look at and don't mind looking at the same card over and over, right? There's going to come a time when you're like, okay, I've seen 2 days, I got to go. I've done my deals. So how do you keep them in the room? That's kind of the question.
It's a good question. I did Card Party recently, which was here at the Marriott like a month and a half ago. And the audience in the TCG world, the community is a lot more engaging. It's not about, they're looking at the cards, but they're not heads down. They're more, there's lines for every activation.
Yeah, CollectorCon too, same way.
Yeah, so I was like, how do we, but when you're at as more of a sports card collecting show, everyone's looking to finish the collection or upgrade something. They're being really dialed into the cards, especially the guys that have been collecting for a long time. Some of the newer people coming in the hobby, I think there's an opportunity to show them that we can have some interaction outside of just looking at cards. I haven't really seen anything too crazy yet that's really sparked that.
Yeah, do you have something?
Well, I was just gonna say what Mama Breaks did, Stephanie did with the kids. What the kids pavilion, or what was it called?
Yeah, it was right over
Yeah,
there.
I did hear a lot
Kids
of
trade
noise
day.
over there.
Absolutely, so important
100%.
because that makes it a family experience. So you know, as a dad, like I come here and I want to look at my stuff, but I also want my kids to have a good time, have fun, like learn about the community. But so like those things, they add up, especially when you compound in 5, 7, 6 years. These kids are going to turn into collectors. We're going to be working with these kids in the future.
But at the same time is those kids and what they're being raised in is a lot more experimental and experiential based activations throughout their entire lives versus what the last 50 years has been raised in. So there's a lot more flashy stuff going on in their already day-to-day life, where if we don't bring those things into this space, it's just everything else is going to keep going up, and the card show industry is just kind of plateauing. So how do we engage? So like you said with like Card Party and Collecticon, there's things that as a community.
Well, the community is different.
Yeah, it's community. They have shows that they can wrap things around. They have games they can be involved with. There's other things outside of just watching sports. Right. So how do we take sporting events or sports themselves and put them in this room that allows an engagement and an activation and experience that everyone could enjoy, especially kids?
Well, I know that I went to your show in Vegas, and you were working on activations there, and I think you had an arcade set up, and a lot of the vendors had some golf games where you'd win packs and stuff, and I like that stuff. Yeah. But we were all just at the National, a couple of weeks ago or something.
It feels like it was a couple weeks ago, but it's like 2 months ago.
Well, and that
feels like I flew straight here from
size,
there.
Right? Yeah, they did. They did a great
so
job.
I didn't get as much time to walk the floor. I don't know if y'all did or not, but did you see anything interesting going on there that was like, that's amazing, something that we can grow from? Because I didn't have a chance really. I was locked down in my booth.
Yeah, so I felt like this was the first. I've only been in the sports card industry for 3 years. This past National was the biggest build-outs I've seen across the room and more. Now, does that mean it's experiential based, or is it more like corporate build-outs type situations that get people to come in and just oohs and ahs? There was the only thing that I saw that was actually physically engaging was in the Ludex Lounge with PXG's golf simulator, where they're actually swinging a club and hitting into a simulator.
Even doing fittings. They were doing fittings there too.
Yeah, they're doing fittings. Now, Fanatics had a great setup, but it was the life-breaking thing, and it was like a stadium setup. That was cool. I know you guys had a great build-out. It was very massive. You had your podcast room over there. You had your submission room over there. And then you had almost like a vault room where you could walk in.
Yeah, we also had that arc with
the
PSA
cards in
1986 Fleer. All PSA 10 set, they were in this arc, which is super duper cool. And then Heritage, they had all the cool Star Trek and.
Well, this is this first show that we've actually did a separate booth just for all the pop culture stuff and entertainment stuff. So we brought Pokemon and that. We had sneakers. We had some action figures, and we had an entire Star Trek collection of all the costumes from the movies and the shows. We had a Kurt Cobain guitar, some vinyl. So we did that in a separate booth outside the sports booth. That was the first time we've done that setup.
Yeah, something about Card Party, because I also went, and something that was really cool. I think they broke the record for the most packs opened as well.
Yeah, they set up the Guinness thing.
There was like a Guinness World Record for how many packs get opened in there. So that was super cool, super engaging. You should have seen the trash everywhere.
But that was very high energy. It was very high energy.
See, that's great. That needs to be at more shows. Like, how do you bring a pack or a pack opening thing to each event where it generates hype, it generates energy? Because the one thing when I started researching shows, I went from my first year I was at Dallas Card Show, and then immediately in that same weekend there was a sneaker con. I went to both shows, and there was a wildly different energy in the rooms compared to feel and sound and things going off. It was very similar, but it felt like a different energy. So how do we bring
energy?
So I had an idea for the trade night. So the big official trade night they did at the National, and they do them at all the different shows now, right? Well, everyone's getting heads down. They're sitting at the tables everywhere. I thought it'd be cool if there was a huge screen in there and a live camera walking around and walking up to someone, pulling up a card and saying, hey, showing the entire room, this guy's getting rid of his card, he's taking $20 for it. Does anyone in the room want it? Or this guy's looking to trade for whatever. And then go to each table and randomly pick someone and put it on the screen so the entire room sees that.
Or it could be a live auction where we have someone there, yelling out prices and stuff.
I wanted
like
a gavel. I wanted an actual
gavel. Yeah, we could have someone out there. It'd be $20
with the paddles and everything.
Go back to an auctioneer, doing, hey, give me $20.
That would be a really cool. Even if it's a $15, even if it's a $15, $20, we want to hear that.
It doesn't matter. It's excitement, it's involvement, and it can price. It's just like whatnot, where a $15 card can sell for $50 just because somebody doesn't want to lose to somebody. Type situation. And to go off what you're saying is, that's something we did at this show, was walk around the floor and interview people live. But I also like the idea of, because we had one at Las Vegas Card Show where walk around the room and say, hey, this person's selling this just over the intercom. if you're looking for it, come to this booth type
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, that stuff's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. So those are activations that we could do as Hobbzi, because that's what we're trying to implement with our media team, is being able to walk around the show live and cut 2 different cameras here on stage, or 2 or 3 different cameras, or walking the floor, and have interactions where people can, super chat something, say, hey, you should buy that card instead of that card, and then
I was just about to say, we got some cool ideas. I don't know if we want to talk about them or not, but clearly Dakota's going to talk about it. So.
I mean, that's the whole point of us being
You walk
on
around
here.
with one of those T-shirt guns and just start blowing up T-shirts.
And then you shoot too low and hit a kid in the face, and then now we're in another problem.
You know what? Instead of do like a card wrapped in a T-shirt, so they're getting a card or something.
That's actually, that'd be cool.
I mean,
that would be cool,
because you think when you go
Wrap a
to
slab
a
in a
Mavericks
T-shirt.
game and the things that they're doing between the breaks and at halftime to get the energy up, I don't know what pieces of that could work in here, but you got to think outside the box.
I was always looking at like festivals, music events. Like, there's always a million things going on in every nook and cranny of that event space. So how do we can figure out those little things and bring them in here? I mean, like, sports card investor Jeff, he has his kid zone. He had a great spot at the National where it's a whole build out where kids can hang out, trade on blocks and stuff. Those are things those just little things add up. If you have 20 companies doing little things, it builds a lot of energy in the space versus just trying to have one big thing going on in the room. You need to get a bunch of people doing small things that eventually connect. And so because there's always there's always something for somebody. So it's not trying to appease, not having one company try to appease everybody. It's like one company appease a small demographic of people in the space, and then go to another company, okay, now target this demographic. So that way everyone feels taken care of, and there's always these little things going off in the room that bring people back and be like, I want to stay here. I don't want to leave yet. I haven't even looked at the floor yet in cards kind of situation.
So I'll keep giving away ideas. Y'all can use them if you want. I asked this to happen at the National. They didn't approve it, but I thought it would have been a cool idea to do a dunk tank.
Yo.
And I tried to get it in.
Yeah.
And they just were worried about the water and stuff like that. But we could put the different collectors and influencers or people from some of these companies, you pay like $5 for a ball and it goes to charity, and Jeff Wilson's on stage for an hour, and then
Mojo
card collector too, and Mojo.
You put Gio and Jesse in a dunk tank, and that one might be busy for a while.
Yeah, you definitely put Gio up there. Some people probably want to knock him.
That line will be too long. Love you, Gio.
But we can put Tim up there with his big hat on.
Yeah, I agree.
I think there's enough people that would do that, and if the money's going to charity or something, that would be a fun little activation.
100%, I agree. Like those out of the box ideas, like I think I said it to Matt yesterday, is we have to look outside of this industry. That's the hobby, like the typical companies you see in here, and you have to think, okay, they're already here. What is similar to our demographic that could resonate with this demographic that's not in the room yet? Is what we need to start thinking about and getting in the room. And outside of the carnival games ideas, that's great, but just think about other companies that can be injected into this space. Like we talked about DraftKings, golf companies, and similar things where we know our audience is, gamblers, drinkers, and they love sports. So how do we find other companies that aren't necessarily in the collectible space, but can coexist?
I think energy drink is a good one. Like, there's no energy drink sponsor.
Oh, I had one at my first show. I lived off it for like 2 months.
but there's so many energy drinks in the market now. Yeah. But there's a lot of them that are kind of catered towards a niche. It'd be cool if somebody said, you know what, I'm going to cater towards collectors and their craziness, and like name it after stuff of collecting. Like this is a mint. This is a 10.
I mean, I know the show is there's a show named Hobbzi Slam, but a drink called Slam would be cool. I don't know.
But like it'd be nice to get some other sponsors and some other opportunities and some creativity in here outside of just grading companies.
Because when those companies' attention come onto here, that means their audience's attention comes in here, and they go, oh, this exists. Like when I first found out about the sports card industry in 2021, February 2021, I had a friend tell me he took $10K to $100,000 a year trading cardboard. I was like, you did what? Like it was just didn't make sense to me. And then from February to May is when we're like, okay, I'm going to run a card show in Las Vegas. And then went off to it because I just didn't know this existed. And there's people out there with a lot more money than me that can see this exists, and that just brings more capital into the space and more things. There's more people, more traders, more collectors, everything.
I definitely think we're missing an opportunity with the larger sponsors too, because I mean, obviously, Hobbzi's got 3 buckets. We got the agency side, the media side, and the ad network side. On the agency side, we've got a lot of advertisers that are interested because of our audience, right? Like we've got a massive audience of well over 3 million now collectors.
You're talking about advertisers that are not one of these.
Correct.
companies.
Yeah, like
Okay.
so, not the Goldins and the Heritages and the PSAs, and
Beckett's,
we're talking about Nike, Under Armour, PXG, DraftKings, RotoWire. So like,
But I haven't seen any of them set up at a show yet.
they're
or
not.
anything.
Yeah,
I think it's coming though.
Yeah, I think so too. And I
needs
think,
to.
but they have to be introduced to that, right? So, and I think that's where Hobbzi comes in. Is like, we can help bridge that gap a little bit because we have some of those advertisers, but they have to be introduced to the audience too. Like they have to understand, okay, this is our demographic. This is who we're trying to reach, and I don't think anyone has bridged that gap yet to those major advertisers.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so the way I look at the hobby, I mean, card collecting, I feel like is still very American, especially sports card collecting. Aside from the TCG, that's international, but I feel right now when we're branching out internationally, like places like Saudi Arabia that are playing these soccer players absurd amounts of money, to hear that Mbappe turn down $1 billion
contract,
is upsetting. But think about it that way. Those guys love sports. In Asia, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron, those guys are gods over there.
Yeah, I feel like they're bigger over there than they are here.
Oh yeah, no,
I mean,
absolutely.
It's like you got people crying at their feet.
over there.
Yeah,
Money's a lot different over
look
there.
at how that even just Messi coming here to the States has impacted the market tremendously for soccer and people just thinking about collecting. I was talking to some guys last night who've never bought a soccer card. They're buying soccer right now because of that attention. So I think obviously the Netflix show, not to keep plugging it, but we do reach a international demographic because it's subbed in so many different languages. So we get hit up from people from all over the place. And I think if we continue to approach it that way and there's more media being put out there, then we're going to grow the pot for everyone else.
Well, even some of the
the Adam
collectors.
Sandler movie is probably going to help us out some too. I don't know what the plot's going to be or whatever, but that gives a lot of visibility to the hobby.
I
as
know
well.
a little about it, but I know he's coming out with a show about collectibles.
Yeah, and he's been spotted at a show or two, I think, as well, looking at cards.
Yeah, interesting. Yep.
Nice.
So, but I mean, you guys have, even on the show, you guys have collectors that are wanting you guys to auction stuff that are not in the. I mean, down in Puerto Rico, Colombia, the UK, like they're all over the place.
Yeah, it gets pretty
you guys
crazy.
Heritage has it too.
Yeah, well, we have offices in Paris and London and Hong Kong, and we're all over the place. So we're there's a.
We're
there's
just scratching the
different
surface of the international audience.
There's just so much more going to happen.
And with F1 and soccer and all these sports, like it's kind of like the epicenter, and it's kind of moving out, kind of the whole like drop of water, and you got your ripples.
Yes.
I feel like you're moving, and the ripples are just now getting
Soccer and F1 are
that
definitely
international
pushing us
audience.
to the other side of the pond.
I think if you blink and you look 20 years in the future, all this stuff is gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, there's so many sports on the other side of the planet that we don't even acknowledge here in the United States. Yeah, cricket, which isn't that the largest?
Huge.
It's bigger than all sports, like revenue-wise.
Yeah.
It's cricket. Like then soccer and then football, then our football, right? Something like that. So it is going to happen. And when the soccer kind of bridged out a couple years ago, we started seeing more shows pop up over like London and Paris, and I think Japan started doing one. Germany did one. So it's starting.
Soccer's coming.
Yeah,
at the Dallas show, they do that every 2 months, and there's a special trade night that's just soccer guys get together.
Yeah.
They do it away from, I guess, everyone else, but they have like a soccer-focused trade night.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool little story. We just sold a triple auto superfractor of Messi, Ronaldo, and Holland, and I actually flew out to Italy to pick this card up and meet the guys who won it in a break. I flew into Milan. None of the guys lived in Milan. They lived in different parts of Italy, but they all that's where the breaker's at, so we all joined there. So, and getting to hear them and see how passionate they are about their soccer and the history of Panini in Italy and stuff like that, it was amazing because, this is me in a different country and I'm talking cards. Like, I'm chopping it up with a fellow collector. We're talking about all these other things. I'm like, man, now if this grows in a single country like Italy, I can only imagine as it continues to spread, but just amazing stories. And, our industry can change lives. So this car selling for $134,000, even though they have to split between 4 people, it goes a very long way. Mm-hmm. So getting to experience that time and time again, especially with the bigger stuff, especially soccer right now, has been amazing.
Yeah.
And those headlines move the needle too.
100%.
Oh yeah.
Those headlines move the needle.
The other thing I see kind of changing, I think these shows are not just card shows anymore either. It's memorabilia. You know, it's your bats, it's your TCG, it's your sports,
Comics,
and then
yeah.
you're seeing comics come in here. You're seeing
Funko Pops.
Yeah, Funko Pops are
So
starting.
toys will start.
Yeah, we're actually getting ready to put some of those in auctions. Funko
So
Pops.
I truly believe there is one of the original ideas of Las Vegas Card Show, which we kind of pigeonholed with ourselves with the name Card Show, is we wanted to bring all the collectibles like toys, sneakers, TCG, and sports cards under one roof, because they're all the same mindset, they're all the same mentality, but they all operate in their own different world. But if we could get them in the same room and realize it's the same thing, and that they can branch into other markets, then we're cross-pollinating those markets and expanding all the markets, which means bringing more money into the space and more awareness to the space. So that is something that it needs to happen, and I think it's starting to slowly, but somebody needs to step and say we need to have a section for sports, a section for TCG, a section.
You
for
know what?
sneakers.
I think Prism God's trying to do that in
Good.
Atlanta, right? Because he's got a sneaker component, and then he has the basketball game, and then he has the cards.
Yeah.
You know, but it takes some time to kind of pull that together.
Yeah, like it's my mindset is like flip the switch, let's do it. But reality is it's a slow dial turn.
Yeah.
And we have in the last 2 to 3 years that dial's been turning with Collecticon and with like Del Mar, with Burbank, with Las Vegas Card Show, some other shows. It's starting to take traction. It rubbed a lot of people wrong at first because they felt like we were taking what they've been doing for 50 years and away from them. But reality is these shows, there needs to be 6 to 8 shows that are pushing that limit so that it elevates those shows. But we were talking about yesterday is there still needs to be the normal card show. That should always remain because there's a demographic for that's going to want
I kind of
that.
see those as the regional shows.
Yeah, but you need that for the bigger, let's push the needle, let's expand this. There needs to be 6 to 8 shows that are just like, we're going to do some weird stuff. Yeah. And it's going to not make everybody happy.
Yeah, some of it's going to work, some of it's not going to work, right? It's like, you know what's funny is Jensen Shiro and I think it was Lewis Howes. I don't know if you guys watch any of their stuff, but they got a podcast and she's got a couple books. But she said when you change as a person, right, when you actually decide to change as a person and change habits, or you decide to stop drinking, or you decide to, start being healthier, you have friends around you that actually mourn that because they're like, well, that's not the person I knew. And that's why they have a hard time supporting that, right? Because it's like, well, I want the old Jeremy, or I want the old Dakota that, went out and drank and had fun and ate whatever he wanted. And so there's a mourning period there to understand that, no, that's not who I am anymore. Right. I think that's what we're going to get in the card industry.
We kind of are there.
Yeah, and you're kind of there right now. You're starting to see that, okay, well, that's making me uncomfortable because that's not what I grew up with. That's not the shows I used to go to, right?
Tag is an example of that.
Yeah.
The robots and the neon lights and the basketball
I love
games.
it.
Yeah.
I love how loud they are. They're not loud, but they are loud.
We're starting to see now people are being like, you know what? Okay, they're more accepting of it. They're starting to see things that are like, okay, well, maybe this isn't bad. I still get to, I've still got my trade nights. I still got my cards upstairs. And so the experiences are changing, yes, but I think they're going to start accepting it more as they realize, okay, it's not that bad. Yeah. I still get to do what I want to do, right? I still get to see the things I want to see. Yeah.
But they're going to fight it. Yeah. I've been hearing the grumbles of the old collectors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I mean, but I understand, again, it's not about the last 50 years. It's about the next 50 years.
Yeah.
And knowing that those kids over there are more likely going to be engaged with tag
you have to do this.
than the guys that have been in the hobby. So they know.
You know what I tell them? I say, guys, we have to do this, or you're going to have no one to sell your cards to in 20 years when you want to get out.
Yeah. Like, I knew my shows. I purposely the first year did not drop a flyer off to vintage collectors because I knew that I was going to have music, it's going to be flashy, it's loud, and they were not going to like it. But then the second year I was like, okay, I need some vintage in here because there are some of the younger kids that like vintage. Like I have my friend Ryan, he's younger than me, and he's all about vintage weird stuff. But I knew not to touch certain demographics because they would have just been pissed if they were in my room with music and stuff. So that's the point is we have to start adjusting for what's going to be there versus what's here now. Like Amazon plans for 5 years out at a time. Like every action they make is as if they were 5 years down the road. And I think that's what show promoters and companies in the space need to start operating is like, what is this going to look like in 5 years, and can we start implementing it now so that when it does come in 5 years, it's full blown, and then we start thinking for the next 5 years after that. Otherwise, it's going to just continue being the same freaking thing at every show. And that's where, and on the caveat, on the other side of the coin, though, is people will always be happy. with shows. It doesn't. There'll be people that are mad about it, but as long as they're in there and they're making deals and they're making money and they're making memories, they're going to say it's the best show in their life. Every weekend. It does not matter where you're at. It doesn't matter if it's a basketball gym or
was
a
it a good show? The answer to that is yeah.
Yes. Like
you making
it's
deals,
very rarely
money,
somebody will publicly
yeah.
blast how bad a show is, because at the end of the day, if they're making money and they're happy and they hang out with their friends, because it is a lifestyle. Like when I travel to 40 shows a year, I see the same people at every show. Doesn't matter if it's on the West Coast or all the way on the East Coast, because they love this. And it's about the chase of the card, but at the same time is if they're all there to make memories, how do we increase their
the experiential aspect of it, right?
To create bigger and better memories. Like, dang man, this one time I was in Vegas and Zion Cases and Roto Breaks did this after party in a suite at MGM, and it was totally cool. And there was a hot tub and it was 2 floors. Like that stuff is what people are gonna like. Oh, and they're gonna be, oh, I want to get to that next time. Like, how do I get into that party next time? So, it's you got to do this as the industry a whole, and companies too at shows. Like, we have to find ways to get people engaged and stay in their booth and create a memory with that company, so they get involved into their brand and become a fan.
Yeah, to touch on that, when I like where the hobby is now, because I do feel like people are building for longevity from the ground up. Think about all the companies that came into the hobby during the peak and the boom that are no longer here.
Right.
Think about the people that are no longer here. They were just in it for the instant gratification. They got in, got money, felt it was going to be like that forever.
You're talking about the COVID boom, right?
The COVID boom, yeah. And the companies that came in, without saying which names are no longer here.
You can look around and see.
PR team. PR team is like, please stop.
We know who they are, but now I see companies really like strapping up their boots, going down to the ground floor and building out, and that creates longevity. I mean, I feel like that's been the nature of our hobby even before my time. It's been a slow build and compound, and I think some companies right now, especially the newer ones, they understand that and they're focused on it. So that's why, for me, I'm very optimistic about the next 5-7 years of our hobby. And I'm actually grateful that the people that just came in just to collect a quick buck are no longer a part of it, because that, the culture would get ruined that way.
Dating the herd.
Yeah. Well, when I've talked to a lot of these companies, and I tell them the biggest thing that they're not doing is when they're on the whiteboard and they're talking about developing a business in this hobby, they don't write the word collector and community on the whiteboard. They look at transactions and data and all this stuff. And if you actually are a collector, you're going to understand this room differently than a transaction.
Yeah.
And if you're going to build something in this business, you have to actually care and get goosebumps about actually being a part of this world.
Yeah.
Because we can get technology in place to solve problems.
Yeah. Yeah, but there has to be tribe mentality. That's why Apple is Apple. It's like you have to figure out how to get everybody together. And it's funny that you brought up community, because I had a conversation with our other partner or business associate, Michael, is I don't believe on a grander scale that the word community is actually what it's supposed to mean in this space currently. I think it's very fragmented.
Right.
And people like to think it's a community because everyone preaches, we're here, we're community. But again, we're still not working completely as a community in my mind. So, or do you believe that this is still community feels in this space, or do you think that there's some room to grow there?
Oh, there's definitely some ways to always get better and level up for sure. There is a community here. It does have some little niches and some cliques and stuff that but I think it's here. It's definitely not the same community that's in the TCG world, though.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot that we can. I think there's some stuff they can learn from this, because I go to both shows. Yep. I think there's some stuff they can learn on the transactional business side, the card side, because they're always having a lot of fun over there. And over here, we're all business and like, what's the next deal? Yeah. We can sit back and have a little fun. I think there's a good mix there. And having this show here, having both, if that can figure out how to develop that and mix that, I think that some of the activations that the TCG people do inside of an event like this will expose them to some of that, and that community aspect of how they work with each other.
Yeah, that goes hand in hand of having all those different collectible markets in one room, learning from each other, not just from I can go buy this over here. Same mindset is, okay, what are they doing that's so fun over there that we're not? Why is it so much more louder and vibrant over there, and why is it so dull over here type situation? because I do agree. Like, we were at Collector Colony this weekend. Sugar Ray played a concert for 30 minutes. Like, right in the middle.
Sugar Ray was there?
Yeah.
Like just randomly pops up on stage.
Yeah, it starts
There
thinking,
he
like,
was,
and you got, like, I mean, Pikachu's running around and Charizard's running around, and it's way
Well,
more.
see, but you know what? That's in some of these older guys in here. That DJ playing in the background and all
Yeah.
that going on.
They hate it.
Oh,
They
drive
hate
them
it.
nuts,
They
yeah.
hate it.
Well, that's why you
and
section
how do
it
we-
off.
Yeah,
Just
how do-
Tag playing their music back there and that thumping is probably driving some
Well,
of
no,
these
they've
guys
already been
nuts.
asked to turn it
Yeah.
down.
That's okay. We'll turn ours up.
But you know what I think it comes down to, honestly? Like, it comes down to, are you giving more value than you're taking? And like Jeremy
Yes.
said, like,
Yes.
if you're thinking of transactions and analytics and all these different things from a tech side or a business side, like, you're going to lose.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, you've got to figure out, are we giving more value than we're taking?
Yeah. You know, one of the things that Art was bringing up a while ago, and it's the stories with the collectors. Come sit with me and Art talking to a collector. Listen to me talk to one. You can see the goosebumps of when they collected the stuff. They didn't
Yeah.
collect it for a transaction.
When they found
They're
it
like,
after
I
years.
remember when I
Yeah.
bought this and I had it as a kid and the memories that it was, and it takes me back to hanging out with my dad on the floor, whatever. This is what we get when I'm over there. You're like, that's the stories that need to be told more often, not how much a card sold for.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Agreed.
I agree, too.
Because for me, I started with TCG when I was 7, right? So I started collecting. I remember how fond I was just looking at every single corner of the card, reading anything possible I could read on the card, and just doing that for hours and hours and hours, and seeing the kids do it right now. Seeing my daughter starting to collect. She collects Disney and One Piece, so her eyes and the way she's organizing things just takes me back to those moments. And I'm like, man, I'm in a beautiful industry.
You get to relive it
Yeah.
again through her,
Yeah,
which
and
is so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm trying to live it through my daughter right now. She loves Stranger Things, so I've been
that
buying
works.
Stranger Things cards, and I got her the first series set and explained to her how it was put together. So I'm trying to connect her and show her, so she understands what I'm doing.
Yeah. So
At the same time, though, to Art's point, like, I've got 4 kids, right? And I've got 2 that are in sports and two that are 3 that are kind of into TCG.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't a TCG collector growing up. I was a sports collector, so I don't get the TCG side of things. I do now, obviously, because I've got to keep an eye on it for my
course.
kids. But what's interesting, though, is my kids aren't those type of collectors, right? They're looking for the rares. They're looking for the hollows. And if they don't get them, it's like throw away.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
They literally just throw them away.
Dude, you see it all over the
Yeah.
show. You see it all over the show.
Breakers did that. So the influencers are my little brothers got deep into Pokemon. But they saw all these breakers just go through cards so quickly, like, oh, that one's valuable. These are trash. Oh, we didn't get a good hit. So when they're opening up, they're like, this is horrible.
Yeah.
They don't even look at the cards. They don't appreciate it because they're watching guys breaking them react that way to cards that
Right.
aren't as valuable.
Monkey
So
see,
they're
monkey do.
reacting the same
Yeah,
way.
it's a complete culture shift,
Yeah.
man. Because I was like you when I was a kid on the sports side of things. I would sit there and go through and look at every stat on the back.
Organizing them.
But we didn't have the ability to go look up the
memorize.
stats. So
Right.
there was no internet.
Gotta wait for the
That was-
magazine to
that
come
was
out.
like,
You're like, oh no.
it is the culture has changed, and we have to recognize that. Like, you've got to recognize it. and
you know what?
shift.
On the sports side, I tell everyone, they're like, I want to understand collecting. I was like, well, there's too much going on here. You got to start somewhere. I was like, what sport are you into? Find a value set. I still do this. I will build out the Prism set every year or the score set every year. That's how I learn all the new players, who moved to what positions. By forcing myself to build that out is how I get familiar with all the new rookies. And the score set's a good one to do it at. And that's like collecting that set and understanding it, not just going after the high value stuff. Like
Yeah.
building out sets is actually, kind of therapeutic sometimes.
Absolutely. And for me, I kind of lost a little bit of passion for sports collecting, even though I still collect Kobe Bryant. What got me re-engaged with collecting was collecting One Piece cards with my daughter and because they're more affordable. I don't have to spend $5K to complete the set. I collect Kobe. I collect certain Kobe's Lux Auto, so it's $2K, $5K every time I need to splurge on one. But with these other TCG products, they're cool. I'm passionate about it too. It's much more affordable for me to complete a set. Maybe it's $1,000, which it's expensive money for some people, but it's way better than buying one card for $5,000. Especially, I'm just intending to collect a card. So I re-engage my passion with some of the TCG stuff, and now that my daughter's into it, it gets even better.
That Stranger Thing box, there was one upstairs. It's like $150 for a box, and I think they have 24, 36 packs in it. I'm gonna probably grab one for my daughter, and I think that's an okay price for something they're into. I'm going to make her open it up and show her how to put a set together.
Good.
Yeah, that's fun. Culture's changing. I think we're all shifting, especially the 3 companies that are up here, Hobbzi, Goldin, and Heritage. I think as long as we're all moving forward and understanding, look, you got to respect the past, but look to the future, right? And so as long as we stay that line and understand that, I think we're all going to be good, and I think the hobby's going to go places we would never even expected.
Man.
So
1,000%.
But
you got to start collaborating more.
Yep.
That's what I mean by community. The only way to see the direction of the hobby truly going to the next step is people really starting to cross collaborate and work together, and that just comes down to who's going to start it.
Yeah. Oh, it's happening right here.
Yeah, it is. Especially with GM10 too, and that's what our goal as Hobbzi is. How do we get as many people up on this stage and just work together?
Well, the GM10, those guys is a great group of. You just see the energy and how excited they are about doing everything that they're doing, and they're trying to find their way through all this. But they're infectious.
Yes, they are.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What were we gonna say?
100%.
Well, think about everyone that's successful in the hobby who's been in the hobby for the last 30, 40 years and the hurdles they had to go through until the moment came for them. So when I look at the hobby, I think about it from 10 to 20 years. I look at guys like Ken Goldin and everything he had to go through to get Goldin to where it's at today. And it's very inspiring to me because he was everywhere trying to grow the hobby. I heard stories about him going to car auctions and just to look for that one whale to get into buying cards. So he really grinded it out. And I look at it in the next 20 years, it's going to be a totally different generation. I want to put myself in a position to be able to capitalize that down the road, like these guys, or Rob, who's been doing this for 30 years. And look at this show. Who would have imagined he would be able to?
It's only the 3rd show. Look how
this
big
is
it
only the 3rd show for Rob. Shout out to Rob and EJ. Phenomenal show. But those guys really were there when it wasn't as lucrative. They were passionate before everything. And then when it really their time came, they were just ready because they never left. Which is really cool. That's what gets me excited about the future.
Yep, 100%. Well, guys, I appreciate you joining us. Great conversation. I'm sure we'll have plenty more of these as we.
There's a line at my booth waiting to talk to me right now. So I got
we got to go.
Yeah, it's wrapping all the way to the
here.
stage here.
Looking pretty busy over there,
with all these other people out here.
Yeah, for sure.
Are those the protesters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You walked not at my booth.
You guys walked through that this morning too.
We were walking over do we want to continue walking over here or not?
They were loud.
Yes,
It was definitely loud.
Apparently
Whoever was staying in that Hilton today definitely got a wake-up call.
Yeah.
Apparently they've been doing it for 5 years.
Really?
Yeah,
The same every Sunday?
I think it's like every other month or something, but I
So
heard
it's not working.
Yeah,
it's not working.
That's a long strike, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for watching the live stream. Make sure you catch the replays over at Hobbzi.com. Tune in at just a couple minutes. Who we have on next, Dakota?
Justin
Yeah.
from
so,
Alts.
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. He's
So-
supposed to be
I'm
here.
going to sit in the audience and throw some stuff at him.
Yeah, please do. He's a character.
Oh, there he's coming right
so
now.
we'll be back in 5
yeah.
with Justin from Alt. Make sure you catch that, Hobbzi.live, and make sure you catch the replays on Hobbzi.com. So thanks, and we'll talk to you guys soon.